Mr. Chaffetz is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Johnson, with who did you collaborate the development of your testimony that was submitted? Did you collaborate with anybody in the development of your testimony?
I wrote my testimony and I discussed it with my lawyer.
Anybody at the White House?
No.
Anybody within the GSA?
No.
Question about why not fire Mr. Neely? You know, he's still being paid by the taxpayers. He's on administrative leave. He's still taking a salary. This is somebody who took a conference with a budget of $250,000 and made it over $800,000, spent $75,000 on a bike building exercise where we built a grand total of 25 bicycles for $75,000, $2,000 in-room party, yearbook and a souvenir book at a cost of $8,000 to the taxpayer, $6,000 for the stimulus coins that were given out at one of the two $30,000 parties that were given. And keep in mind, there are only 300 people at this, and a top hat program, a recognition program that has fraud. So my question is to the Chief of Staff, why is he still an employee of the United States government?
My understanding is that disciplinary action has been begun against several individuals involved in planning and executing the Western Region
Why does
Conference.
it take so long? You were given this report in February, correct?
Yes, correct.
What does it take to actually be fired from the GSA?
There's a longstanding due process that career employees are entitled to as part of their employment. We've begun that process among other disciplinary actions for several individuals that were involved in planning and execution of this conference.
My question is, why did he get a bonus? Didn't the President of the United States issue a pay freeze?
I wasn't part of that decision.
You're the Chief of Staff. You're telling me you're not involved in any sort of bonuses.
I was not involved in that bonus.
Who was?
The Administrator, and there's a performance
Ms. Johnson,
management review.
why were you giving out bonuses when the President said there was a pay freeze?
The senior executives were entitled to bonuses under our were entitled to bonuses. I don't believe the pay freeze affected those bonuses.
Would the gentleman yield for just one question?
As long as it doesn't take some of my time.
The gentlelady just seemed to say entitled. I thought it was that they were possibly going to be granted. Entitlement seems to be a question the gentleman may want to follow up on.
I apologize. I did not mean entitled.
Oh, I think you did mean entitlement. I think that's the fundamental problem that America gets and that government doesn't get. There are a lot of good Federal employees who work hard, they're patriotic, and they're frugal with their money. But when you see this widespread abuse of money, and then you as the former administrator, say, well, they were entitled to it, that's where there's frustration just steaming out of our ears. It is totally unacceptable. And for the President of the United States to look the American people in the eye and say, well, we got a pay freeze in place while you're getting bonuses and going on trips is totally unacceptable. Tell me about, let's look at the budget here. If you could put up the budget graphic. Is there anything wrong with this number that you see over here? 3.8, that should be $1 billion spent by the administration. These are outlays in the first 3 years. If there's anything wrong that you see with that graphic, please let me know. This is the last 3 years of the Bush administration, the first 3 years of the Obama administration. I'm going to continue on. If you want to get back to me, that would be great. Ms. Johnson, can you tell me about results.gov? You highlighted it as one of the great accomplishments of the GSA. What does it do?
The results.gov, among other online websites, allows Federal government employees as well as U.S. citizens to look at and access data about their government.
So when I type in www.results.gov, why does it come up blank?
I don't know, sir.
Mr. Robertson, you're the Chief of Staff.
I'm unfamiliar with the results.gov website.
So you're citing, now this is the disconnect. You're the Chief of Staff. She's the former administrator. She cites it as one of just a handful of great accomplishments at the GSA, and you don't even know what it is?
I believe that the former administrator's reference to data was about data.gov, but
That's not what she said. She said results.gov, and it's blank. It's blank. It's something that actually the Bush administration does, but I don't see it there. I didn't even go to it until you highlighted in your testimony, and I would appreciate the GSA getting back to us. I think that's terribly unacceptable. Location solvers. My understanding, Mr. Robertson, is that the GSA employs people that are full-time planning coordinators. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so in this particular instance, Location Solvers is hired, and they were rewarded a $12,000 finder fee. Why are we hiring full-time people to be party planners only to go out and hire a service that then gets a $12,000 commission? Don't you think they would have given that commission back to the American taxpayers if we'd done this directly?
And I do not understand that action either. That was one of the outlines.
I struggle to figure out what you do understand and what you do know. You're the Chief of Staff. We expect you to understand these things. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. We now recognize the gentleman.